Hello and welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Your Blank What Now podcast with Marcy Nettles. I am your host, and I have been so honored to be your host. I was actually just having a conversation with our amazing guest that you're going to get to hear from today about what's coming next. You know, it's been 3 years now. Can you believe that, What Now Tribe? That we've been doing this amazing show with such phenomenal guests coming on and sharing their life story with you in hopes that it would give you some light, some guiding light on what you can possibly do next to get yourself out of maybe a circumstance that you're finding yourself in so that you can move forward into the future that is really waiting for you. Nobody wants to stay stuck, right? And so if I'm sounding a little bit different today and opening the show a little bit odd, it's because I have news for you. Today's episode is going to be the last interview of an outside guest for the Your Blank What Now podcast. It has been such an honor and a privilege for me to be able to be trusted by so many amazing individuals with their stories, to be able to share them with you, the What Now tribe. And yet, seasons come and seasons go and things play their course. And it has been 3 years. Today's episode is 149th. Next week, you'll be able to hear from me, where my husband's going to interview me on my heart and why we had this show in the first place, as well as what's coming next. And so please tune in next week to hear what's coming next, because I'm not done with you yet. You will be hearing more from me in the future. But the Your Blank What Now podcast has created an environment and a community for people to know that no matter what they're going through, they're not alone. There are ways, if you make choices to do something different, to be able to get out of where you are and have the life that you have always dreamt of. So again, thank you all for being the best part of the Your Blank What Now podcast. And yet we're not done yet. We have an amazing, amazing guest today. And I am so excited to be able to introduce Ruchi Pinniger to you. She is the founder and CEO of Watch Her Prosper. She empowers women to redefine prosperity in business and life through holistic financial guidance and mindset coaching. Her signature approach fosters shame-free empowerment, enabling clients to achieve significant results in profitability and economic growth. Ruchi leverages her years of experience on Wall Street to provide expert advice on financial leadership, tax time readiness, and small business finances. She is also dedicated to philanthropy, serving on the executive boards of Savvy Ladies and the Pajama Project. Recognized with the Entrepreneur Community Leadership Award 2024, she is committed to helping entrepreneurs thrive while cherishing moments with her family, exploring diverse cultures. So, Ruchi, I am so excited to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Marcy. What an honor. First of all, just to be here, but to be your final guest on this amazing show. I feel so lucky to be part of your journey too.
Oh, thank you. Well, I felt like after we had had our conversation previously, that your story and what you have to bring to really empower women in business, it would be perfect for us to help people. And because I have to tell you, it's like, yes, these are concepts we're going to be talking about specifically for women, but man, you can learn something too, right? We can all learn from each other. So I'm excited. I'm excited to have you.
That is so true. Everything we're going to talk about really is for humans, and it's really here. What we do here is to empower people. And
Yes.
so it's exciting.
It really is. So we decided that the title of your episode would be You're Making Money and Still Not Fulfilled. What now? Right? So
I know, I
before,
love it.
yeah, I know. I love that too, because there's so many people that are out there just grinding away and they're making some pretty good money, yet they hate their lives. They are frustrated all of the time. They're not having any fun or doing anything they really enjoy. And so I'm excited for this conversation for everybody to hear what you've found and what you've developed. Yet before we get with that, can you please start by sharing with the What Now tribe more of who Ruchi is and really what life was like for you as a child?
Absolutely, because we all know that everything is a journey, and so much of who I am today and the work that I do is because of, how I was raised and how I grew up. So for me, I grew up with immigrant parents. They came over, from India through Denmark, where I was born, and then came over here to the US. And my dad died very early, so I ultimately was raised by a single mom. And so we had, by all accounts, a very nice life. I do remember feeling like we didn't have the money to do a lot of things that I saw a lot of my friends and colleagues, and I should say classmates, doing. And one of the things I really remember is like seeing those friends having all of these things. Like I'm an 80s girl, so a big thing back for me was those Jordache jeans. And I remember seeing everyone wearing those Jordache jeans and seeing those commercials and thinking, oh, you have those, and that means you have this amazing, perfect life. And we really, didn't have the means to buy those, definitely not when they were in fashion. And so fast forward to many years later, I was on Wall Street. I was making, really good money. I felt like I had finally made it. I was successful. And I bought myself a Prada bag, and I was thinking, all right, that was my thing. We all have a thing that we think is going to make us feel better, more successful. I bought that Prada bag, and what happened was I had that momentary feeling of excitement and validation, but then nothing changed.
Mm.
Nothing, except I went into debt.
Right.
So that
Right.
was right. I mean, we do that. And then, you get excited, but then nothing changes, nothing
Yeah.
happens. And that's really for me when I realized that prosperity comes from the inside.
Yeah, it really does. Well, and you had a lot of difficulties in your life that really helped you develop this platform of beliefs. I mean, you had lost both of your parents by the time you were 15 years of age. I can only imagine how difficult that was. I lost my mom when I was only 20, and that was hard enough. But being 15, you're at such a pivotal point in your maturing. What kind of beliefs do you believe that you developed due to losing them so young?
I think I really saw my mom as a role model. So for me, watching her reinvent herself in this country, she had been an educator overseas, but when she came here, she started as a bank teller. And I saw her really work hard, work her way up into an executive position at a bank. And that was, one of the pivotal things that I saw, because when I was really thinking about what do I want to do with my life, I had moved in with my aunt and uncle after she had passed away, and they really encouraged me to consider going into business because of watching how successful my mom was. So that was one big thing, and then also her generosity. Like you hear that term of like the type of person that would give someone the shirt off their back. That was my mom. So just like taking those pieces from her and bringing them into my life and the work that I do is such an honor.
Yes, most definitely. Isn't that so great to be able to see your mom in yourself because you've developed those same characteristics that she exemplified for you? That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, most
Yeah.
definitely. I think it's important for us to look at that. Having lost our moms, especially young, to be able to look at ourselves and see our mothers in us because they help develop us, it really helps with that grief too.
It does, because that's you remember her from all of these things in your everyday life, right? When you're doing the work that sort of like, she really is the person who led me into the corporate world ultimately because of the guidance of my aunt and uncle. And if it wasn't for, maybe I'll share a little bit about that as well, because I think it's so relevant. You know, by losing her is how I got to see, kind of the gifts that I had and sort of carry her spirit with me. So, yeah.
Oh, that's huge. That is so big because even when we don't recognize it, we're being
Mm.
influenced by people. And on the other side of that coin, we're influencing people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We don't even always know all the people that we're impacting. Sometimes you have people come over to you years later to say, you did this, and you don't even remember because you're just kind of being you. So it is sort of phenomenal the kind of impact we can all make on each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you hear inside of yourself, you see inside of yourself the characteristics of being a hard worker. Because obviously, your mother, she had to have some drive and determination to be an immigrant and to completely reinvent herself, as you mentioned, and worked so hard. Did she feel fulfilled in what she was doing, or do you know?
It's a good question. I actually ask myself that because sometimes I do wonder how fulfilled she was because I think she had, what people would call a hard life, right? Like losing my dad very early, coming here on her own, having to kind of raise two kids on her own while she was working to support us. I do wonder. One thing though, I know I know that she really you know, loved and cherished her relationships. I could see how she'd walk into a room and people would just light up when they saw her and the way she lit up around people. She loved to entertain. So, so I think that there's certainly parts of her life that she really valued and appreciated. And I think there were probably some that were really, a little more difficult.
Absolutely, and mothers especially tend to hide those as much as they possibly can from their children, so we wouldn't necessarily know it all. So you had mentioned being on Wall Street, which is really cool, right? And getting those your Prada bag and all the fun things that you wanted, yet again, going into debt for them, it's not always good. But you've
Yeah.
had different experiences with entrepreneurship. Why do you think your first company was not fulfilling to you?
Yeah, actually, it was really more the corporate world that felt unfulfilling. I think once I was in the corporate world, mostly on Wall Street, I just felt like I was totally lost. And I knew that I wanted to do more to make more of an impact. So for many years, I struggled with what do I want to do next? I even took a sabbatical, took 3 months off, volunteered, did some classes for floral decoration, for cake decorating, thought I could be a florist or a baker. And I still just went right back into the old role in the old company. So, I am really grateful for the journey because ultimately what happened was I left corporate and I hired a coach to help me think about what do I want to do next. And I was that sort of type A control, need to know what's next all the time type of person. And she was the one who really helped me to step back and to start to see spirituality and the support that we get from the universe and like knowing that everything we're going through is a journey and we're fully supported all the time. And she said to me something that I'll never forget is like, look at this time off as a gift from the universe and listen to the messages that you start to hear and see what comes. And I did. I really took her advice and I started to listen to all the messages that were coming my way. And I heard all these amazing women that started businesses that were saying, I love what I do. And by the way, they were really well educated and really great at what they did, but they were saying, I'm not good at the numbers. I don't have time. This is so hard. And one of those women was a very good friend of mine. And I said, well, listen, why don't I help you? I have all this background in finance and you have these issues like that you're coming to me with. Let me come help you. So I'd go into her office like every week or two and we would just sit down and she would cry and she would tell me everything that was going on. And I started to help her around her money and around her money stories as well. And within a few months, she started to feel like she had more control over her money. She understood what was coming in and out. She raised her rates. She felt supported. And then she started telling all these people about me and said, oh, my friend Ruchi did this and did that. And one of those women said, oh, I think I need a Ruchi in my life. So that was really fun and I had a consult with her and she shared all of what was happening. And I said, oh, I think I can help you. Now, mind you, I had no idea. I had never had a business at that time. And I was just like going with my sort of like the intuition of like, I have this skill, it looks like. And, I said, I really do think I can help you. And she got tears in her eyes and she said, I feel like an angel sent you. And that was my inspiration for starting Watch Her Prosper. And I realized I could make impact doing this work. I really always thought like I had to start a nonprofit or something a little more traditional that you think where you equate helping people with. But I realized I can do this work and help people. So now, 10 years later, through money mindset, financial guidance, and bookkeeping, we are really working with all of these amazing women to help them redefine prosperity.
Oh, so good. And how is your fulfillment?
My fulfillment is good. Look, all of this is a journey. I'm human too. So I myself am coaching myself and reminding myself sometimes when I'm feeling overwhelmed or when I'm sort of like falling back into my own prosperity, I remind myself. So, and so we have, life is lifing. So there's times where I'm sort of like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. And but all of this for everyone listening is about a journey.
It really is. And recognizing that when you say yes to too many things, you oftentimes are saying no to the most important things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. It's so
Yeah.
true. It's kind of, and you're a great example of that, Marcy, what you just shared with the audience as we started, right? You're letting go of this podcast because there's other things that are waiting for you in the world. So you
Yes.
allowed the spaciousness to figure that out and to find that.
I love that you coach people to do that. And I love that you get coached yourself because we oftentimes can get stuck in our own heads. And when we do that, we get
Mhm.
stuck in our own stories. And what I think a lot of people don't understand is that our stories are really fabrications around a single event that's completely different than what we've made them out to be. And so, getting coaching, you can have somebody help you with clarifying what's going on really inside of your head and what's the truth, right? And so, I love that you are doing that for women and helping them really understand what they could be doing in a more simplistic way with more ease and having more
Right.
success. It's so good. It's so good. So,
Yes.
yeah, will you share with the What Now tribe your 3
Mhm.
pillars? I mean, you designed these 3 pillars that have really redefined prosperity, and why do you think that it's really pivotal for women in business?
Yeah, it's for women in business, it's for women, it's for men, it's for all, because this work is really just about living your best life. So when we think about prosperity, most of us think about financial success and all the things. So what I've come to realize through the years of experience is that prosperity is so much more broader than that. So I've broken it into the 3 pillars that you mentioned: well-being, spirituality, and relationships with people and with money. And when we focus on those things, that's when we really truly embrace living prosperously. So if you want, I'm going to jump in and
I
I can
want
share
I
with
would
you.
I want,
Yeah,
and I think the audience wants
amazing.
too, so please.
Yes, please. Okay, so well-being, thinking about this from a different perspective. I like to say, we talk about well-being and people tend to think about diet and exercise, and those are all, of course, really important. What I ask you though is, are you really caring for yourself? Like, are you doing things that really bring you joy? So, for example, for me, I love like a great bum day, sitting in my pajamas, watching my favorite shows. Some of our clients at Watch Her Prosper love their weekly manicures, pedicures, or their monthly massages. And we really encourage that. And we even try to have them budget for that to make sure that they know it's safe to spend money on themselves. And you and I were talking about this, Marcy. We live in this sort of go, 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 being busy makes me valuable society. So, really stepping back and thinking about, what are you saying yes to? Where are you spending your precious time? And when you do that, when you care for yourself and you give yourself that mental space, what you're really doing is you're opening yourself up to your intuition and to your higher self. And it's allowing you to envision the life that you really want.
Okay, so this is really important because I think that there are so many people out there right now that are so stressed and being pulled in so many different directions. I mean, think about it. I mean, families, both parents have to work. And most of the time, both parents have to work multiple jobs, plus take care of the kids, plus get the kids to all their activities, plus do everything. And so people are probably thinking, it's like, where in the hell do I find this time? Does it have to be a whole lot of time that they spend doing these things, or can they have moments?
It doesn't have to be a whole lot of time, right? First of all, and one of the things we're going to talk about when we get to the next pillar is also just the language we use. We Not everything has to feel like it's hard or it takes a lot of time. So this is a first step. Look at, what are you doing? How satisfied with are you in like how you're caring for yourself? What are the things that really are exciting to you? Ask yourself that and just like schedule the time in. schedule your me time, schedule your me budget as well. And the well-being piece, it doesn't have to have a big budget. You know, well-being can come in so many ways. It could just simply be getting out for a walk in nature if you have that available for yourself. I live in a big city. I live in New York City, and I just walk over to Central Park and I get, around the trees, and I just get in nature and spend that time. It could even be like the grounding and breathing exercises. Like one of my favorite things to do, which comes with no cost, is 478 breathing. So I don't know. Are you familiar with 478 breathing? I'm always
I-
curious.
Inhale 4, hold
Yeah.
7, exhale 8. Yes.
That's right. And I always I say put your tongue at the roof between where the roof of your mouth and your teeth meet when you do the exhale. So yeah, 478 is great. So just doing some of these simple things, it can come in all budgets, as I said.
I agree. And then one of the things that I have really started up with in the last month or so is setting aside time just to read 10 pages in a book
Yes.
without any distraction, right? Just putting your
Yes.
phone away and just taking that time just to read those 10 pages and to enjoy what you're doing, maybe with a good hot beverage or, whatever, but just taking those moments to do those things doesn't cost a dime.
I I love that. You know what's funny about the book thing is I was just telling someone I have all these books I love to read and I am so curious to learn. And I have a book club, with some of my friends. So, I always have that one book, but there's always all these other books. Everyone's like, you have to read this, you have to read that. And they start to pile up and it feels overwhelming. And actually someone just said to me, why don't you read 10 pages a day? It doesn't have to feel overwhelming, right? It could be exactly that, just small baby steps.
Yeah. And if you don't have time for 10 pages, do 10 minutes.
Exactly.
Just, just,
Whatever works.
just make a decision and quit making excuses is what it really comes down to as well. It's like, don't make excuses to avoid that self-care. It can be very simple. Just prioritize it.
100%. Great advice, Marcy.
Oh, so good. I'm so glad you're here
Yeah.
with me. You're
Yeah, me
bringing good stuff
too.
out. So,
Ooh,
okay. So the
ooh.
second pillar, spirituality.
Okay, spirituality. So, thinking about the world just wants us to feel like we're humans running around, right? In our lack, in our not enoughness, in our scarcity. But spirituality is just simply the recognition that there's something much bigger than us at play here. We're not alone. There is a higher power, whatever you want to believe it is, right? Universe, God, whatever might speak to you. And that realization will help you know that you're fully supported, that anything you want is available to you. So I, for a simple sort of practical, tactical way to uncomplicate spirituality, I love to sort of incorporate just thinking about the thoughts we use and the language we use. So when I talk to clients and other people, from stages, I like to say, think about the universe as a mirror. What you're putting out is what you're getting back. So if you're walking around in, lack thoughts and scarcity thoughts, that's what we're getting back. And I think I heard there's like an average of 60,000 thoughts we think a day. So if a lot of those are sort of these scarcity and lack thoughts, imagine all that's coming back to us. So what I want people to do is use this method that I've come up with. It's called the RIR method. So it's recognize, interrupt, and reframe. So recognize when you're having a negative, disempowering thought, interrupt yourself, take a moment to breathe, and then reframe it and replace it with a more prosperous thought. Okay. And by the way, I do this all the time. I talk to my son about it, talk to colleagues, to friends, to clients. So, one of the things I said to you is like why we started this business, or why I started this business, is the thoughts that people would have about I'm so bad at the numbers. I don't trust myself. So think about even something like that and reframing it to every day I trust myself more and more with money, right? It could be that easy. Or even those of us who have so much on our plates. You were saying earlier, when we think about well-being, how do we like fit this in? How about just like instead of getting into that overwhelm, just thinking, a lot of us are like, there's never enough time. But what if we're just like, there's always time to do everything I want to do? I am time. even when
That's
you
good.
say that, you feel, right? You feel like in your body, you feel a difference.
Yes. Yeah. It's actually taking some ownership in your time, right? When you say, I am time, that means I'm in control of what I do with my time. So,
Absolutely. You're
ah,
making you and time one, essentially, right? I am time. Like you're
yeah.
owning it. And even like, those of us stuck in traffic, we're like, oh, but just like it's happening how it's meant to happen. You don't know why. It's okay. Let it go. Listen to music, call a friend, make the best of
Mm,
it. So it's just about the reframing of it for
mhm.
so many of us.
And when we are, put off or have that traffic or being held up, I like to just think it's like, thank you for protecting me from what could have happened if I had been further ahead.
Yes,
Right. So that gratitude as well is
absolutely.
so important. Yeah.
I love that. I love
Yes.
that.
So you said 60,000 thoughts. What's interesting is my husband and I, we do a lot of the
Mhm.
mindset stuff, right?
Yeah.
And human nature is the 80% of those thoughts are negative. And so it's so
Yes.
important for us to learn this that you are sharing and to put it into
Yeah.
play and practice it. Don't expect to be perfect because you're not going to be, but work on
Yeah.
it. Yeah, so
Work
good.
on it and just remember that RIR. So it's just something, again, it's free. You can start immediately and you can just take it with you. And when you start to see, or find yourself go down that rabbit hole of thoughts, you're just like, oh, catch yourself. I recognized it. Oh, let me interrupt it. And then let me think of a more empowering thought. And
Yes.
I think what you said is beautiful, Marcy. When we go to gratitude, we start to have those more high vibrational thoughts.
Yes.
Right? And we
Yes.
start and right, yeah. And when you do that, people feel that energy, right? Like, do you ever walk into a room and you feel the energy of someone, good or bad, right?
Yes.
So start to be that person who's just like putting out that positive, beautiful energy. And you start to also see like people being more attracted to you as well.
Be an atmosphere changer, people. We can change
Yes,
atmospheres for reals. We can absolutely do that. And, again, don't expect to be perfect, but when you do catch your thoughts and when you reframe it properly, celebrate it too. Because I don't know if you know this or not, Rushi, but there's actually science around the brain and happy hormones, dopamine. When you celebrate, dopamine gets shot out, right? And we love dopamine. It's the feel good, right? And so your brain's like, oh, that was really good. What did we do to get that? Let's do more of that. And so if you celebrate the small things, like when you catch yourself in this reframe and you do it properly, celebrate, high five, whatever it is, but just say, go me, I'm awesome. But that dopamine will help encourage you to do it more frequently. So use the science.
100%. I love that. Yes. In fact, a lot of my client meetings, I start with gratitudes and celebrations. So just yesterday, I was with a client and I was like, okay, let's start with gratitudes. What are you grateful for? And then we did some celebrations. And that's like a beautiful way to, especially when you're starting a finance meeting, imagine that.
Seriously, for real. Oh my gosh, but so much good stuff already. Yet we still have the third pillar, the
Yeah.
relationships with people and money. Can you
Yeah.
share on that, please?
Absolutely. So we were talking about those like sort of higher vibrational feelings. So just thinking about your own relationships with people, right? Like who are you spending your time with? What are your relationships based off of? Are you spending time and complaining, or are you spending time empowering each other and supporting each other? So that it can be that simple in terms of like who are you spending your time with and how are you spending your time? And then on the money side of things, one of the things that I love doing is helping our clients and helping people shift their relationship with money. And that is as simple as let's start by looking at our numbers. Let's start getting comfortable with them. That's just the beginning. And that's, so important because those people that sort of have those stories and kind of feel like they're not good at the numbers, just kind of it's like dating. You're just building a relationship. Go on a first date and that can just be like, "Okay, let me make a commitment to do this." And then, maybe every week you're going in and looking at what's happening and then you're starting to get more comfortable.
Okay, I love the dating aspect and that idea with money. Because I think a lot of the time we push it, the money aspect away because we don't want to deal with it, because we're afraid of it, because we don't know, right?
Yep.
where bringing it into the
Mhm.
light, knowing exactly where you're at, like you're saying, and then just
Yeah,
becoming familiar with it gradually. I love how you really
that's
take
right.
people by the hand and walk them
Yeah.
into this relationship.
Yeah, it's my honor to be able to do it. Yeah.
Do you think that women have more issues with money than men?
I think so. I think so. And actually, like there was a recent survey and it said that men's leading emotion about managing their household finances is confidence. And can you guess women's?
Fear,
Stress.
timid, stress. Yeah.
Stress.
Yeah,
Stress.
boy.
So no wonder 61% of women would rather talk about the details of their own death, dying, than talking about money. So that's what we're here to do, changing the conversation, right? So just like we talked about our beliefs a little bit earlier, right? So just like first of all, help having some strategies around that, like having a conversation with yourself, like a real conversation with yourself about money. It's like, what are the beliefs you grew up with? What's in your head driving your decisions? Because 95% of how we show up is actually based on our subconscious beliefs. We don't even realize how we're showing up. And so many of us come from different backgrounds. Like some of us have parents who were like fighting about money, so we think money's bad. Some of us were told rich people are bad, so now we have a whole harder time making money for ourselves and holding on to it because we equate it with something negative versus how much beautiful work we can do in the world when we have money. We can make such an impact. We can give to so many. We can do more. We can be more visible to make a difference.
Yes. So it's all, I mean, relationships can be strong or they can be broken, right? And so
Yes,
I think that us women, first of all, money equals security to us.
absolutely. Yes, it's
And
how we care for ourselves, how we
yeah,
care for others.
yeah. And so if we're constantly worried about money, that's also something that we pass on to our kids. And so we obviously got this from our parents, specifically our mothers.
Yeah,
And so it's
many
really a
times.
generational thing. And it's like time, okay, I would just say right now that each one of us ladies needs to just put up our right hand and say, I will be the breaker of this generational curse, that I will
Yes,
become familiar with money. I will choose to have a good relationship, an empowering relationship with money, and not let it control me or make me afraid or stressed out. By the way, stress leads to disease and disease leads to death. So we don't want to die
yes.
early.
No, we don't. And by the way, I was so raising my hand with you, girl.
Just
And yes, and I think that's exact. First of all, also dis-ease, disease, dis-ease, lack of ease, right? So, hello. I mean, it's in the word.
yes.
And remember, we've talked about if you're feeling that lack and you're having those feelings around money, that's what you're pulling back to you. That's what you're bringing back to you. So you're kind of doing the opposite of attracting it. So when you're comfortable with it, when you know there's always enough, even if in your human world right now, even if you're feeling like there is debt, I don't have enough to pay the bills. Like even if that's actually what you think is your current reality, I want you to stop. I want you to stop it. And I want you to start saying how grateful you are for your abundance and that you know there's always enough money and start to watch it flow and operate as if there's always enough.
Yes.
Start to be a little bit more generous. Start to spend a little bit more. See what happens. Just play a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing what can happen. It is
Yeah.
amazing. And why not? I mean, if you want what you've currently got, go ahead and keep on doing what you've currently been doing, right?
Exactly. That's right. And another thing also, I love that you said that. If you want what you currently have, go ahead and keep doing it. For us, a lot of times we're not giving ourselves the space to get the clarity on what we really want. So I love that you said that, Marcy, because it's not always easy to get the clarity. How do we do it? So what I try to guide people towards is just take a step back, schedule some time for yourself, get out your blanket, cozy up a little bit, light a candle if you like, and I want you to write down and create a vision for yourself. I want you to think about some questions and I'm going to share them with you. I want you to think about how do you want to feel every day? I want you to think about who do you want to spend your time with? I want you to think about where do you want to be? Where do you want to live? I want you to think about what do you want to be doing with your life? What do you want to be doing every day? Just write those things down and anything else that can help you get some perspective. Take some time. And then what I want you to do, I want you to write a letter to a loved one or someone of your choice as if it's a year from now and it's already happened. And when I do my letter, I usually write it to my mom and I start out saying like, "Dear mom, you won't believe what a year it's been." And then I get into all the things. And then I want you to use that vision as your North Star that's guiding you every day in your decisions. When you're getting a question, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? Are you available for this? I want you to think about what's in your vision and is you saying yes to that thing aligned to that vision?
Beautiful. So let me ask you then, Rishi, if
Mm.
you were going to write that letter to your 15-year-old self, what would you
Mm.
put into that letter?
Oh, beautiful. I would tell her she is fully supported. And just know that everything that she's been through is guiding her to where her life is meant to be. And that even though her parents aren't physically with her, they are there with her, protecting her and guiding her.
Hmm.
Mm. What about you? What would you say?
Oh, I would say you are so much stronger than you could ever imagine. That you are
Mm.
going to be asked to go through hard things, but you will be victorious and you will never be alone as you're going through it. That not
Yeah,
only will your mother be guiding you, but that you have a loving Father in heaven that has always been there for you. That it's okay to trust that even though others have hurt you, there's going to be others that love you so big that you will be able to do anything that comes into your mind. So that's what I would tell myself.
that is beautiful. That is so beautiful. You know, I have a son who's 16 now, and I really love reflecting some of this work onto him, you know, when it's a tough day or when something happens. And he's had a lot of stuff, you know, go on recently. And I remind him this is such a small part of your bigger life. Like you are here to do so much good and all of this stuff is guiding you. You don't have to know what you're going to do. You just trust that it's all going to happen exactly how it's meant to.
Yes. And the beautiful thing is too is that when you get, I mean, I'm in my mid 50s and so I'm maturing. I'm definitely not old, but I've gotten enough wisdom that I can look and see all the things that I've gone through, just like what you're talking about with your son, because 16 is such a hard age. It really is. But being able to look back and see where those difficult things that didn't kill me are actually building me to become who I am and who I needed to be. And it's the exact same thing for your sweet son.
That's exactly right. Thank you. He's going to have to listen to this.
Yes, he is. Hi, son.
Yay.
Yes. Oh my goodness. My heart is just so full today because I think that this message, especially with it being the last interview that I do of the Your Blank What Now podcast, I think that this message is going to be so powerful for people to be able to just really become empowered for their next steps if they so choose. That's the challenge, right? If they so choose. So,
That's right.
what would you like to leave the tribe with? What would your final thoughts and words be for them? And then how can they get connected with you? How can they follow you?
Yeah, first of all, I just want to tell people like from a financial perspective is who you've been with money is zero indication of who you're capable of becoming with money. And that's really important for those who are making that generational change that you talked about, Marcy. I mean, that's, I think that, and this is all in your control. This is, you get to create the life you want. You get to make the choices. You get to make these commitments. And when you're thinking about redefining prosperity, I want you to think about what does prosperity look like to you in all of those areas. So remember well being, spirituality, relationships with people and money. And so, for those of you who do want to continue and start to really reflect on those pillars, go over to iwanttoprosper.com and you can download my free Redefining Prosperity workbook and you can just like get started on that journey. Those of you that want to stay in touch, you can go over to Instagram at Watch Her Prosper, and you can even go to my website, watchherprosper.com, and sign up for our newsletter. And we right now we're doing monthly, who knows about the future, but get some money mindset tips and updates from us. If you have a financial question, you can go to Ask Ruchi, ask RUCHI.com, and you can put in a question and it might be selected for our column. Those are all great ways to stay in touch and to continue on your financial and prosperity journeys.
Oh, I love that. I love all of that. That is so good. So we're going to make it really easy for the What Now tribe. They can actually go to marcynettles.com/freebies and request the freebie from your episode, and we will get them connected to that amazing Redefining Prosperity gift that you are offering to the tribe today.
Amazing.
Okay, so really easy, marcynettles.com/freebies. Oh, tribe, I hope that you've enjoyed this as much as I have today. Ruchi, thank you so much for being such a beautiful guest and sharing your heart and your wisdom all the way around, how we can live fulfilled lives. Thank you.
It's an honor. And again, just such an honor to be part of your journey, Marcy, with you and your listeners and to be the last guest on your podcast.
Yes, thank you so much.